Ladies and gentlemen, I am Couch Coop and it's time to talk about Scorn. New game coming up next year. We do have a release date, we'll get into that in a second. It's from Ebb Software and this is looking incredible on a Geiger level, and of course we've got some first person shooter and what looks like puzzle aspects. But let's get through some of these trailers first, have a look at some of this initial material. We've got a huge gameplay trailer that we're going to break down, but what I'm seeing is beautiful. What we're looking at here is a new trailer which has got the release date reveal at the end of it, which is October 2022, which isn't too far away for a game that kind of looks like it's not got too much behind it yet. But from what we do have and the angle that it's taking on a visual level is so stunning, and that's half of the appeal for me. Is, as you all know, huge Giga fan, and this artwork is just paying off big time. Now, I don't have much on Ebb Studios, not too much on the Steam page, but some really interesting stuff about the gameplay itself and talking about the choices you've got to make on an adventure front, play styles changing, and of course the actual website itself has sweet FA on it, which I like that minimalist angle. Geiger or Giga, very famous Swiss artist, died in 2014 and was integrally involved in the look of the Alien and Aliens films, worked closely with Ridley Scott, and that design has also been followed through quite consistently in Hollywood horror with stuff like Species that he was involved on. But this isn't the first time that we've seen some Geiger influence in actual video games outside of the Aliens canon. Darkseid was huge when I was a kid and I grabbed that with both hands because I was still a fan of the Aliens franchise. This particular trailer that we're looking at now, I've put them in sort of chronological order in when we received this content, and this one came out about a year ago. It seems dangerously close to the Promethean source material with those huge heads and the design of a lot of these rooms. I'm not sure how the developers have got past Ridley's lawyers. They've managed it, and I think because they've stepped out of the sci-fi mechanical canon and really into the biomechanical direction, right? All of this footage is all about almost organically constructed corridors, machines, the gun we'll get to in a second. And that gives me such a big Clickers vibe, that almost fungal explosion there. Alright, let's get to this gameplay. First of all, let's talk about the HUD or lack of it. Now, I'm a huge fan of how minimalist the UI is. It's great not to have numbers, figures and bars jumping around. This might change, it always does, and any developer showreel would strip the screen of a lot of that stuff because it may not have it worked out yet, and of course you want it looking clean and flush. Some of this lighting is looking extremely clean and flush. Also, whilst we're on the subject, doing this channel has made me a real stickler for frame rates and jerkiness. And this pan down is not smooth, and this is the brand new bit. I'm not sure what happened here. That means it's not in engine and they've used some daft resolution that their actual system, whatever they've run it on to show us that, can't actually handle. That, I don't know if that points to sloppiness. I think it's probably just me being, too much of a geek. Okay, let's get back to the footage, and what we're seeing here is nothing too out of the sphere for a first person, I'm gonna say puzzler / stealth game, because this is not Doom Eternal, and it's kind of looking more like System Shock and Bioshock, which is great news. This is certainly not gonna be Aliens Fireteam Elite. I've also come up with a bit of a theory for the lore and maybe what we're looking at here, and it's quite clear that there's two colour palettes, the red and the deep greys. The deep grey material looks to be an older structure than these reds, so it could be that we're on a ship or in a city that's kind of got corrupted or infected by something War of the Worlds style. That sort of brings me over to the creatures and monsters that we're dealing with in this particular piece of footage, because it's obviously early game. I don't think they're showing us any mid to end, but they just seem a little bit wandery and not too aggressive and maybe autonomous until you approach them or annoy them. Again, back to that Bioshock analogy, but they are not impressing me massively. We're also seeing a lot of phallic designs as well, which, yeah, is quite funny for a giggle, but it takes the edge off it when you're trying to take a dark sci-fi game like this seriously. There's a lot of switches and lifts in this footage, and of course without a minimap or any pausing showing us directions or even a compass, we're going to be screwed. That might be an angle, hopefully just for early game exploration, getting powered up, and let's talk about that now. How cool do all the organics look on the weaponry? And I straight away got a Cronenbergian influence on this one, Existence. Some of you guys might not remember it. Jude Law making a lobster gun.
Do it. It's just a game.
I feel I should touch on why on earth I've chosen it for a time to talk. Well, it's been around for ages, and if you look at some of the earlier footage of the game, it's also gone through some massive changes, and I don't know whether this was a pitch and a loose idea to begin with that then gathered momentum, funding, and now all of a sudden we could see at least a AA, quite high profile game coming from footage that was maybe put together for a bit of a water tester. Ebb on Steam are listed as both the publisher and the developer, so it can't be rolled out on a Call of Duty level. They just won't have the budget for that. But I cannot help but look at some of these visuals, look at this volumetric light and just incredible animations on some of these aliens and think, hold on here, we could have another Atomic Heart situation, meaning this whole thing just kind of falls down within and has to be rebuilt again from a fresh team because it just couldn't be handled by the original conceptors of that idea. I'm really interested in what's being powered up here, and my mind starts to play ideas of maybe improving or having some sort of grenade device, also having maybe some control over a lot of the creatures that are walking around, or more machinery like the doors. You could seal them permanently maybe, or even start tracking stuff or having x-ray vision. You saw something change when he injected his wrist. Maybe that ship you're on is far more of a character than this trailer reveals. And of course we need to talk about the protagonist, who seems to be this strange skinless mortal shell type who is probably putting himself together gradually, and you wake up as some sort of raw manky skeleton that gradually starts to bolt on bits of kibble, badass giga tech, and before you know it you're like a giant version of that mech from District 9. I can straight up tell you now that those lifts are going to do my nut in, and how they're going to get over this orienteering problem and just working out where the hell you are all the time is going to be very interesting. I have trouble with lifts in the real world, let alone HR Giga ones that are spherical and by the looks of it do a full 360 degree descent just to really make sure you've been spun properly with that blindfold on. It's a great opportunity to look at this lighting as well, and the distance, volumetric, mist. Alien Isolation does it very well. This art style, this sci-fi future canon is perfect for getting really cool creepy visuals down darkened corridors, and the noises. I think the audio design isn't terrible. I don't know about some of the noises these little creatures make. I think they might be the game's equivalent of the Halo grunts. They might even have funny little one-liners. Hopefully not. There's a section coming up where it looks to have the gun getting switched out to maybe a slightly more shotgun, lower range, higher firepower version of it. And this sort of enables him to be able to take on those medium-sized guys, and that's a cool idea. The throbbing of all that biomechanical material when he lifts the front off, and it's obviously the same housing for all of these attachments, which could point to that being part of your arm. It looks like most of your power-ups and add-ons are permanently attached to you. A bit of a Returnal vibe with that one. And I do like these particles, suspended particles in this Hive area. There's a Hive section in Remnant from the Ashes which is blinding, and it's very difficult to actually capture because of that damn reroll system on that game. You've got 3 different choices on 9 different levels about whether you get that or not, so going to grab it could take me days. But what they nail on it is this like hulking great masses of murderous meat thundering down tight corridors straight towards you, and firepower being the only thing that's going to save you, because obviously behind you is dead ends and corners you don't know what could be around. This could very much work as a first person idea, and of course I really hope that it comes to AAA fruition, because it might get snapped up. We don't know if this whole game could possibly look like this. There might be a downgrade on these visuals. I really hope not. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year if we don't talk sooner, and of course I'll see you down there.